Charge more for them. Town Board meeting, and if you would all join me, please, in pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilwoman Esley.
Present.
Councilman Marasco. Councilman Perticone.
Here.
Councilwoman Scroback.
Here.
Supervisor DeRizio.
Here.
And attorney for the town.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Our first item today is our 2012 audit report that we are proud to present to you with Laura Landers from Freed Max. And so we are going to move from the dais to go down to view this presentation.
Good evening. My name is Laura Landers. I'm a partner with Freed Maxick CPAs, and we're happy to present the results of the audit for the town of Irondequoit for the year ending December 31st, 2012. These slides were slides that we presented at the work session last week to the board, and the board had requested that part of the presentation this year to the general public at the town board meeting also include these slides that we presented so that the residents of the town could see the results of the operations and the financial position of your town as of December 31st, 2012. What we've done is we've provided data for the last 5 years. And on this first slide, it shows you the revenues, the actual revenues of the town, and this is just for the general fund of the town. There are other funds of the town, and in a slides later on, we'll show you the highway fund and the sewer fund, the balance sheets. But this is just the general fund, the actual revenues and also the budgeted revenues. And you can see here that, pretty much it followed right along, the actual followed right along with the budgeted 2008 through 2010. And then 2011 and 12, actual revenues did exceed the budgeted revenues, and significant variances for both of those years really relate to sales tax. Sales tax is a very economically sensitive revenue, and when the town budgets for sales tax, they do so in a conservative manner because you just don't know what the economy is going to do. So it's very positive that the economy has picked up since 2010, and I think everybody probably has realized that to some point, and sales tax was one of those revenues that generated the actual over the budgeted amount. There are other miscellaneous type revenues that are being generated by the town, demo costs, those types of things that also were an increase from the budget to the actual. This next slide is expenditures, budget to actual. And as you can see, the expenditures here, this is the green line is the budgeted expenditures. This blue line is the actual expenditures. And 2008, you're just about right there. In 2009 and it continuing on into 2012, the actual expenditures have been less than what was budgeted. The town continues with their emphasis on cost containment as far as those costs that are within their control. Sometimes there are things that are not in their control, such as pension costs for New York State, which has increased significantly in the last few years. So that is a positive note that there is a gap here. It allows for, if there's unanticipated expenditures that would happen to occur, that there is some room there, both on the revenue side and on the expenditure side, for the town to be able to absorb those costs. And this is just a chart that just shows a combination from the two previous charts of the actual revenues and expenditures, showing here that here's the revenues and here's the expenditures. So there is a gap, which then really generates the surplus. 2008, the town was generating a $673,000 deficit. 2009, a small surplus of $161,000. And then into this current year in 2012, a surplus of about $1.5 million. And you'll see on the next slide why this was critical to go from here, this deficit, to where the town is now, generating a surplus of $1.5 million. Here, the important line is this green line, which is the unassigned fund balance. Town's general fund budget is about $18 million. And what this unassigned fund balance is, if you think about this in your own personal lives, it's your savings account. So if you were really spending $18 million a year, $121,000 in your savings for some unforeseen circumstance that may arise is not a lot of money. So by generating those surpluses, and throughout the last 4 years, the town has been able to build this fund balance to $3.5 million. This unassigned fund balance is what the town is able to utilize for any unforeseen, unbudgeted expenditures that occur, that they just have not been able to plan for. So this has now become in the territory where it's a healthy fund balance for a town the size of Irondequoit in the general fund. The town board asked me to also include in here some slides related to the balance sheet of the general fund, so that you could see that what the total assets of the town and what their cash balance was at 12/31/12, $3.9 million, and what their liabilities are, which is $2.5 million. We talked about this in the report that I gave to the board, that this is a pretty healthy ratio, that we have $7.3 million of these what we call current assets to cover $2.5 million of liabilities. And then down here is the fund balances. Non-spendable is really what's in this prepaids It can only be spent for the prepaids. Restricted is mostly the DARE money and some other restricted assets that the town holds. Assigned is assigned fund balance that would be assigned for particular purposes, subsequent year budgets, for expenditures to balance the budgets, and also encumbrances. And the unassigned is the one that we looked at, which is the $3.5 million. So the town, and we had this discussion too, that the town has a pretty good unassigned fund balance, and what they're going to be doing moving forward as the plan is to look and see if there are any reserves that the town should be funding to just increase the health of the town. And why that's critical is because when the town goes to market to issue bonds, which they have for various projects, the underwriters look at these financial statements and they really go in depth and do an analysis of these financial statements and say, how healthy is this town? What kind of interest rate are we going to let them borrow at? The more fund balance you have, the more reserves you have, the healthier that your financial statements look, the lower the interest rate is, meaning the less debt service, meaning the less that has to be raised through property taxes or other revenue sources to cover debt service. Here is the balance sheet for the highway fund. Again, assets of $1.3 million, liabilities of $659, still very healthy, and a fund balance here, which is the highway because it's a special revenue fund of the town. It is assigned fund balance, but still a healthy, close to $700,000 fund balance. And the last major fund of the town is the sewer fund. Again, healthy position with assets of $2 million, most of that cash, liabilities of $232,000, and a fund balance of $1.8 million in the sewer. So overall, as I have told the board at the work session meeting, overall the financial position of the town has improved significantly since the 2008. Fund balance has been built up. The self-insured workers' comp plan that the town carries has been funded, which it hadn't been in the past. And each of the funds, the highway fund and the sewer fund, you could see, is also in a good financial position and has been generating surpluses to fund the fund balance. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate.
Never happened.
Obviously, we are very proud of that audit report, and we thank Laura and her staff at Freed Max for the diligence that they exercised during that audit, the tests they performed to the integrity of the figures and the audit, and we sincerely appreciate that. And I have to thank all of the staff members who had to pull information together pretty spontaneously as they were required by the auditors in performing this audit. So we thank you very much. And please thank all of your staff as well. Thank you. Thank you. Interestingly, today I received a letter from the State Comptroller's Office in which he is now pointing to 24 municipalities throughout New York State that are in fiscal stress. And I had to double check because we knew in when the state comptroller did a report, and we were made aware of it the beginning of 2010, and the town was in fiscal stress. We are proud that we have been able, through very conservative budgeting, keeping tax rates flat, and being very careful with spending so that we could pull the town through this. So I guess we're really quite pleased and proud of the accomplishments that it took on the part of everybody in town. So we thank everybody. At this time, I know Jack Karama would like to speak about an exciting fundraiser that we're going to be having.
To the board and the audience, my name is Jack Karama. I serve as one of the trustees on the Irondequoit Public Library.
Jack, pull that microphone up just
Yes.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to add, we've had one positive tonight. I want to add another positive to this meeting. We are planning our first annual community library fundraiser named the Barbecue and Blues for Books Rib Fest on August 24th at Camp Eastman from 12 to 11 p.m. Food will be provided by Alex's Place and Nancy's Funnel Cakes. Drinks, beer, wine, soda, and similar to the Oktoberfests of the past. Children's events will run from 12 noon to 5 p.m., which will include rock wall, bounce house, photo booth, face painting, magician, etc. The bands will start performing at 1 p.m. and will go on till 10:30. We'll have Jeff Elliott and Danny Blues, the Riels and the Silvertown Express, the John Cole Blues Band, and the Coupe de Villes, all the way up to 10:30. We intend to, at that function, raffle off $500 worth of $50 gift cards presented and donated by town business people. That will happen on the 4th and also on the day of the Rib Fest. In addition, we'll have a grand prize offering of a 50-inch Toshiba flat screen TV to be awarded on that evening of the 24th. At the 4th of July events, we will have a booth and we'll be selling advance tickets for $6 to be sold those 2 days, the 3rd and the 4th. Also online at the libraries and possible other venues. $8 admission at the event, children under 12 free, and to add, the library will come.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are certainly reasonable tickets, so hopefully we'll have a great turnout.
Yeah. So, blues and barbecue for books. It seems like it's been rather busy the last few days. So I don't really have much of a supervisor's message, but I did have a few comments that I quickly jotted. Oh, the road construction. Please follow detours on the county and state roads to diminish the traffic in the neighborhoods. Police have been issuing tickets to those who are not following the detour signs properly. In addition, it is important that drivers respect the neighborhoods and children playing and use the detours indicated. Please do not try to avoid additional traffic and construction by driving through the neighborhoods. Please stay on the posted detours. Also, please continue to support the businesses and services on East Ridge Road, and there are a couple on Portland Avenue as well, as they face extreme challenges during construction. Our next Red Cross blood drive is June 29th at the Laurelton Fire Department from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. Please give the gift of life. It's extremely important. Don't forget the farmers market on the town hall campus on Thursdays from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Our new setup is fabulous. Unfortunately, rain the last 2 Thursday nights put a damper in it. Hopefully the forecast for this Thursday will be just perfect. And remember, we have entertainment in the gazebo. The concert series is starting, so a week from tonight, the Irondequoit Concert Band will be in concert in the gazebo. And we want to thank again the American Legion Post 134 for the flagpole at the Public Safety Building. We appreciate the assistance that the Post offers the town, and this gift is a testimony to the importance of the flag, its history, and the sacrifices made. Last month, I introduced one of my summer interns, and I received a call for another one, and so he's been working with me also this summer, and I'd like to introduce him.
Face the crowd?
I have met this year in the last couple of years, quite a few young men, and that's why I write constantly about the importance of scouting. As scouting provides our young men and women the opportunity to not only engage in community service, but really define who they are and understand the importance of community and loyalty and honor and so forth. So this young man I met when he came to interview me for community service, and I'm surprised he wanted to intern with me, but I'm going to have him introduce himself to you. It's been a wonderful experience having, and I call this one Josh because the other one, Joshua, where are you? He's right here. So, they're both Josh Square, so to speak, but so this one is Josh and that one's Joshua, so they know who I'm talking to. So, Joshua, come up here too.
Hi, I'm Josh Friedman, and I was an Eagle Scout in Troop 220. I'm currently going to my sophomore year this August at Ohio State, and I study political science and international studies there. I came to work with as an intern in Mr. Rizzio's office because, I was looking for something to do over the summer, and also it was something that sparked my interest, something like if I could get involved in local government, because I had friends who were doing stuff in the Ohio legislature or the New York legislature, and I wanted to get involved somewhere close to home.
Okay, tell them what else you're doing this summer.
All right, later this summer I'm going to be going to a APAC, which is America-Israel Political Affairs Committee conference in Washington, D.C., and I'll be going on a birthright trip to the state of Israel right before I go back to college in early August. So that's the plans for the rest of the summer.
Exciting.
Then I wanted both of them just to comment on the things they have learned so far, because one does not know until one has sat in that seat what goes on in town. Okay.
You can start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Met you all probably about a month ago. But it's been a month since I've been on with the supervisor, and I'll actually be leaving this Friday to do my job at St. Bonaventure University. But I've learned so much. First of all, I've learned that the supervisor's door is always open and always open to traffic. There are so many people that walk into that office every day. We are really lucky that we have a supervisor like Mary Joyce that is willing to just listen to the residents and try to figure out a solution to all of our problems. So I think that would be the number one lesson that I've learned, is that as a public servant, you always have to be ready and willing to serve the people that elected you, and we are lucky to have someone that is ready and willing.
Josh, what have you learned?
Well, I've only been here for 2 days, but for what I can say, Josh is pretty much on the right track with that. Supervisor's door seems to be always open. In fact, she'll be in the middle of a sentence or something, and somebody will walk in and an entire new conversation sparked up or something. So I'm excited to see what happens, but hopefully things calm down and things get done.
Thank you, guys.
Nice to see such bright students. It gives you great hope for the future, doesn't it?
It honestly does. And the conversations that I have had singularly with each one of them and the conversations we've had, the three of us, have been really inspiring. Yes, they've been learning a lot from me, but I've been learning so much from them too. And I said to Josh Friedman that I'll be anxious to talk to him when he returns from Israel, because we've had some very interesting conversations about Israel and, of course, my faith and belief in Israel, as well as political parties and the difference between other countries and ours. You know, when we travel to other countries, they look at us and they don't see a difference between our political parties. It's much more pronounced in other countries. And so we've had some interesting discussions because, as I said, I never took a political science class. So with that, let's move on to people having a say, and we'll start with Stephanie Squicciarini.
Good evening. Stephanie Squicciarini, 3360 Culver Road. Tonight I speak more as a resident than as the president of the library board. Last week was filled with aha moments for me, and those moments connected some current issues facing our town. It may go without saying that I'm disappointed, disheartened, and frustrated by the current turn of events following months of hard work and dedication on behalf of so many people to bring forth real positive change for our town. There are days when I'm not sure I want to cry or scream or both. The aha moments I had last week have tempered those extremes a bit. I am not the most optimistic person around, you can ask my husband, but lately I find myself becoming sort of an accidental optimist, trying to share the silver linings in what have become somewhat tarnished events. I have also been finding the parallels between the current road work and the current course of events surrounding the library project and the anti-library lawsuit. While driving along Ridge Road, or rather stopping and going along Ridge Road, it occurred to me that I could either be angered by the trip taking longer than expected, or I could find the lessons and observations found along the path. During these observations, I was able to see two main types of people around me. The people who saw their way into letting a merging car in with a friendly wave, with kind of a kinship of we're all in this together. Or the flip side, I saw people refuse to give an inch, showing a one-finger wave to get to the next lane shift or a red light one car ahead of me. The entire time I thought to myself how great it is to see tax dollars being spent in our town, to see progress on a long overdue project, to see workers trying to accommodate different types of drivers, and how fantastic it will be for all of us when it is finally done and we have smooth new roads on which to travel. I also thought how nice it is to see parts of our town I might not otherwise have gotten to see had I just been able to take my regular paths. This seems similar to our path our library now faces. There are some frustrating detours and a few people who are giving us not so nice gestures along the way. Besides detours, there's also some false information about the project being published. To set the record straight, there was never a press conference or anything about moving DPW anywhere. No $9 million project. No $9 million parking lot. There was never a final design voted on, only the permission to borrow the money not to exceed $13 million so we could move along our path to our new library. These detours and obstacles in our path are frustrating, but I'm also getting to talk to neighbors and fellow residents I might not otherwise have had the chance to visit with as we share in our disappointment and frustration that progress in our town, voted on by many, is being delayed by a few. While not the path I would have hoped for or expected in our town, it is one that we are on together. It is a path guided by the ultimate survey of our town, one that should put to rest any outdated surveys and polls taken in our long and colorful stream of studies. It is a path guided by the overwhelming support for a new centralized library, one that we will build together, share in together, connect with each other together. And though there will be a few extra turns, detours, and speed bumps, it will take us a little longer than expected to get there, we will get there together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Needed under 3 minutes.
And you mentioned something that I was going to say earlier, because I don't know how certain things are said and spread. We have no intention of building a new DPW building. In fact, we just put a new roof on it. Amy Toll.
Amy Tooley, 247 Wimbledon Road. Last week, my 17-year-old son completed his final Regents exam of his junior year. The following day, he was ready to celebrate. Where did he want to go? to the library to get out stacks of books. What a wonderful way to begin the summer. He doesn't have his driver's license yet, so he asked if I would drive him. Certainly, I said, but why don't you just walk there or ride your bike? You could put the books in your backpack. Because, Mom, he replied, I want to go to the Greece Library. Their selection is better than both of our libraries combined, plus they have many places to sit and read. What could I say? He spoke the truth. So we gassed up the car and went to the Greece Library. While we were there, we discussed how wonderful it will be when the new Irondequoit Library is built. The current libraries have been like second homes to both of my children, but the fact is they are no longer adequate. When the citizens of Irondequoit went to the polls April 23rd, they voted yes for the library proposal by an overwhelming margin. I was so excited the next day I felt like launching balloons. It saddens me that a small dissenting minority has delayed the implementation of this yes vote. I have faith, though, that the majority will win in the end because that is how a true democracy works. I stand by my yes vote, and I am confident that those who voted yes on April 23rd will stand by their votes as well. Thank you.
Richard Barone.
Richard Barone, 154 Allwood Drive. Because you want to see the law obeyed doesn't mean you're anti-library. It amazes me so many people don't care about the law on this town board and in this community. This town board is going to set a record of 4 lawsuits, 2 of which you've already lost, and the federal judge accused every one of you, except for Irina here, of intentionally violating the federal law and the state environmental law. Judge Frazee recently ruled that you also violated the seeker law, just like the lawsuit on the library issue. It's unfortunately the people were misled when they voted into thinking they were voting for a legal proposition. The proposition was illegal. No question about it, because you didn't file seeker. I didn't bring the book with me, but in the little blue book that you should have, I think it's towards the end of the book, it says that on any project this town board does, and this is not in legal language, in the early planning stages you must do seeker. None of you read that. It's amazing. Read the lawsuit, read the 28-page memorandum of law, and you will see where you went wrong, not once, not twice, but at least 10 times where the law was violated. A small minority really passed this of the total registered voters in this town. True, it was a majority, a strong majority. I agree with you on that. Don't blame the attorneys. Don't blame the bond counsel. And don't blame the residents. They want to see the law obeyed. Have we come to a point where we want what we want, and I don't care if the law says we can't do it? Is that what we've come to in this time? You pledge allegiance to the flag of people who died for that flag, for the rights that we have in the law. And all these people coming here and saying, it's wonderful, my kid comes here, we need a... what? You don't care about the law. I thought we were a country and a nation of laws, not opinions. You misled the voters. Every one of you, although 2 of you raised some interesting questions. You owe an apology to the people that voted yes and no, because they didn't know what they were voting for. I'm ashamed of every one of you. And don't blame the attorneys. The buck stops here, doesn't it? Isn't that what President Truman said? The buck stops at your seat, not at the attorneys, not as a bond counsel in Albany. Apologize to this town. It's disgusting.
I would love to comment, but I won't.
It's not worth it.
No.
Don't worry about it. Don't comment.
And unfortunately, I have to interrupt the rest of you because we do follow the law, and town code says at 7:35 we must hold a public hearing. So, if I could have a motion, please, to begin a public hearing. And a second, please.
Second.
Okay, Barbara.
Public hearings 6A 2013-1 in the matter of the Consolidated Sewer District extension for 516 List Avenue.
Okay. Patrick?
I'll read off the resolution.
Yeah, why don't you, please?
Okay. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Arundecoit proposes to extend the Consolidated Sewer District to 516 List Avenue, tax ID number 076.07-2-28, attached land description hereto and made a part hereof as Schedule A. And whereas the Town Board determines that extension of sewer services to 516 List Avenue is a Type 2 action pursuant to 6 NYCRR Section 617.5 C11, extension of utility services in approved subdivision, and therefore no further review pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act is required. 6 NYCRR Section 617.5A. And whereas the Town Board of the Town of Arundecoit at a regular meeting on May 21st, 2013, called for a public hearing to be held on June 18th, 2013 at 7:35 p.m. And all interested parties who wished to speak were heard on that date. And whereas the Town Board finds that I, notice of the public hearing was published and posted as required by law and is otherwise sufficient, and 2, that the petition for said extension was signed and authorized or approved or authenticated as required by law and is otherwise sufficient. 3, that all property and property owners within the proposed extension are benefited thereby. 4, that all property and property owners benefited are included within the extension. And 5, that such extension is in the public interest. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board hereby approves the extension of the Consolidated Sewer District to include 516 List Avenue.
Okay. And
I read it in there.
any discussion? Do you have a problem?
No, that's just not the resolution I have.
Did you receive the updated ones today?
They're in the packet. They should be on the screen.
Read it
On the screen, but not in the packet that we got.
Okay. All righty. This was an emergency situation that came to us, and we're really pleased that we can act this quickly on it. I don't know if Ed Primo would like to talk about this, please.
Yes, with respect to this resolution, and there's another one for another sewer district extension. These are one-owner sewer district extensions. This one in particular will allow the home to be connected to the sewer system, and a septic field, I believe, that's not working will be put out of service. These are properly considered to be Type 2 actions under seeker. The reason is because they're improved subdivisions, which have already gone through their own reviews with respect to that. The language that Pat read contains the findings required pursuant to the town law, and we would recommend adoption of the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to just sit up here so we can call on you as needed? Thank you. Okay, does anyone wish to speak in opposition? Anyone wishes to speak in support?
I'm always in support of sewers.
Me too. Having lived most of my life with a septic tank.
I'll add here that this particular property owner does have a failing system. She's had to keep it pumped down while this process has been moving forward. So hopefully with the approval of this, she will now be able to hire her contractor to actually perform the work to tie into the town sewer, which is actually just right across the street from her.
Sort of ironical. Okay, no one wishes to speak? All right, may I have a motion to close the public hearing,
So
please?
moved.
And a second, please? Any further discussion? All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. And on the adoption of the resolution extending the Consolidated Sanitary Sewer District to include 516 List Avenue.
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Public hearing 6A, 2013-2, in the matter of the Consolidated Sewer District Extension for 667 Seneca Road.
Motion, please, to go into the public hearing.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Patrick?
Except for the address and the tax account number, this is going to be a deja vu of the last one. Whereas the town board of the town of Arundecoit proposes to extend the consolidated sewer district to include 667 Seneca Road, tax ID number 077.12-1-17, attached land description hereto and made part hereof as Schedule A. And whereas the town board determines that extension of sewer services to 667 Seneca Road is a Type 2 action pursuant to 6 NYCRR Section 617.5 C11, extension of utility services in approved subdivision, and therefore no further review pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act is required, 6 NYCRR Section 617.5A. And whereas the town board of the town of Arundecoit at a regular meeting on May 21st, 2013, called for a public hearing to be held on June 18th, 2013 at 7:36 p.m., and all interested parties who wished to speak were heard on that date. And whereas the town board finds that 1, notice of the public hearing was published and posted as required by law and is otherwise sufficient, 2, that the petition for said extension was signed and authorized or proved or authenticated as required by law and is otherwise sufficient, 3, that all property and property owners within the proposed extension are benefited thereby, 4, that all property and property owners benefited are included within the extension, and 5, that such extension is in the public interest. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby approves the extension of the Consolidated Sewer District to include 667 Seneca Road.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. This was a much more detailed plan, having gone through Planning Board too.
Yes, that's the main point. It, once again, is a Type 2 action under seeker. It's gone through the Planning Board process. It's a single owner site, but it's going to be a 3-resident subdivision. The extension of service to this would be a Type 2 action under seeker. Once again, the resolution contains the findings required by the town law.
Thank you. And also, Mr. Heininger, we did receive all of the permits and AOKs through DEC and so forth.
DEC issued the permit approximately 4 months ago.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this resolution? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, do the board members have any questions?
Nope, we've discussed this before.
Okay, so hearing further, no further interaction, may I have a motion to close the public hearing? And a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll give Mrs. Janier a chance to get the times written. Okay. Okay, now in terms of the resolution, may I have a motion to adopt the resolution, please?
Yes, ma'am, so moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And with that, fortunately, for those speaking, we got through that part rather quickly. And we return to public comment with Fran Beth, please. This is where we are violating the law. Usually it has to go to the end, but...
Excuse me? Are you looking forward to me talking?
Always.
Okay, I'm Fran Beth. I have property at 4909 and 4915 Culver Road, which is on Lake Ontario, and I'm sure you have heard that the boating thing was overturned.
Annulled.
Annulled, excuse me. Now, my big question is, are you guys going to try to get it unannulled? I don't know the right word to say for it.
You know what you mean.
But it was just, Channel 13 made a very special drive to not only say it was annulled, but to say you can park as close to the edge of the water as you want. Exact words, which I think was terrible. Because Saturday afternoon, we opened at 2 in the afternoon, and there was a catamaran, good-sized catamaran, come wheeling in, come right up on the beach. My daughter happened to be out there and told him, you cannot be on the beach. Oh, yes, we can come on as close as we want. All right, well, they discussed it for a moment, and he pushed his boat off. And she also mentioned that down by the outlet, there is a public beach. Go down there if you want to beach your boat. So they walked their catamaran down there. They pulled it up on the beach. Oh, I forgot one thing.
And remember, you only have 3 minutes.
What?
You only have 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, he didn't want to go in the tavern. He wanted to run across the street for a hamburger. So they pull it up on the beach, and they ran across for a hamburger. Well, I come down, and I see this funny thing down by the outlet. It looked like a surfboard, a box, and a surfboard. What the hell was that? I walk down. I'm sorry, didn't supposed to say that. And it's this catamaran has tipped over. So if he would have left that at the tavern, we're open now, and people sitting on shore see this catamaran going over, they're going to go out and try to keep that from going over or right it. And if any of those people get hurt, oh, gee, it's my fault. Now, this is not about who owns the lake. This is about safety on the beach and with in our own property. My 2 minutes up?
3. No, keep talking until your 3 is up, if you wish to.
But it's...
Didn't buzz yet.
It is... We have been very quiet and not said a lot in rebuttal to the boaters. And the only thing I hear is, we want to own the water. Wrong. My sister-in-law lives next door. She's home alone.
Okay, there's your signal.
That's my signal?
Yeah.
Can I do it quick? All right. She still lives next door. Thank you.
Ken Kapersek.
Good evening. My name is Ken Kaperzak, and I live at 145 Willow Creek Lane. I am here tonight to briefly discuss the R7 code, and my hope is that the integrity of that code will not be changed as is currently written. As the current R7 project before the town winds down, I have another hope, and that is that we can both learn from this process that we just went through. Remembering that public service is still a great honor to serve those residents who have put elected officials into office so that they can carry out the wishes of their constituents and not to carry out the wishes of some developers who go directly against the hopes and dreams of us, the town residents who actually vote. As for us residents, my hope is that we do our due diligence when voting for these public servants to make sure that those we are voting for believe that they represent the residents in order to protect citizen investments, as well as to maintain the character of our neighborhoods and our community. And just for the record, I don't see a coward among us. Not in the audience, nor behind the name tags of those elected officials who are present here tonight. I see a community of committed residents who are passionate and who are trying bravely to protect their liberty and move forward to leave this town better than the way that we found it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Dave Wilkinson, please.
Good evening. Board members, residents of Arundecoit. Dave Wilkinson, 147 Spring Valley Drive. Previously, I came to you because of this R7 deal and this legacy deal, and it was going to flood out my property. Well, tonight I'm coming to you in a different venue. I am a New York State code enforcement officer. It's something I could not comment on because I was employed by the city of Rochester, and it would violate any, what do you want to call it, confidentialities that I had with the city. I have inspected for these people. And I have, just to talk a little bit about it, is we had nothing but problems with the city. Anyway, I can speak now. I just retired, okay? We had nothing but problems with these people. They didn't get permits.
Who are these people?
The ones who are putting the legacy in.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not using names tonight, okay? Because that's not quite fair. They didn't purchase any permits. They started work without permits. Particularly on their electrical permit and plumbing permits, they had other people pull these permits, people who had nothing to do with the project. And they paid them to get these permits. When we found out about it, we revoked those permits, and then what they did, especially in the electrical side, they took a retired electrician, and they said, he works for us now. So he's going to be pulling the permit and taking care of everything. Well, that's not quite the way it worked out. Whenever I showed up, the workers would all scatter. Because the workers they had there, not only did they work on plumbing, electric, painting, and everything else, there was no skilled laborers there. They were the same people doing all these different jobs with permits that they bought from people. Okay? The quality of work, terrible. Let's see what we got here. They didn't hire any union laborers, any skilled laborers. And I would classify the people there that did the work as nothing more than handymen. And they had a few people supervising. And if you want to go up there on the river and look at the product that they produced, why don't you send some of your code enforcement officers to their legacy, the other legacy, and up into the city, and see exactly what the product is that they put out. It's horrendous. Now, if you guys pass this, or you guys go any farther...
Okay, your time is up, I'm afraid.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, if you go any farther with this, then there's something wrong.
Okay. Thank you. Angie Mastro Mateo.
Good evening. My name is Angie Mastro Mateo. I live at 34 Lou Crest Drive. I have to speak rapidly to honor your 3 minutes. I first became involved because at the first meeting, one of the volunteer firemen got up and said he had concerns about safety. He said it was not the issue of fires that they get called most often for, but for senior citizens falling, accidents, or having to go to the hospital. So I was very concerned. My next concern was environmental. When this came to the planning board, it should never have gone beyond the first stage. Our code at that time said 5 acres. What was purchased was actually 4 acres. They counted the .7 as part of the retention pond, which I believe gets into consideration when you build something. I may be wrong about that. Next, I was very concerned about cost. No, my next major concern was environment. At the December 1911 meeting, I wish I had a video of the former master planner who testified and gave concerns about the flood process that would occur. At that same meeting, a gentleman got up and spoke about having property that the town had spent money to alleviate what once was a lake and now was a problem. And all of this drainage was going to be a big environmental concern. The third thing that I was concerned about was cost. This whole issue was tossed back to the planning board. They had a phenomenal job, and they tried to be fair, but it's very difficult. They hired LaBelle Associates, and I'm assuming there's a cost with that, to go around to all the towns and see what they were doing with R7. Well, the problem with that is Arundequite is not all the other towns. We have a limited amount of land left. We have different home values. We had community who was concerned who did not want this project. And also, I found a paradox. We could find out what the other towns were doing, but I'm sorry to add this. At the last board meeting, a gentleman got up and said, I would like this 3 minute to be looked at. Nobody...
Angie, I'm sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Well, I'll resign up to finish my concern.
Angie, I can't help it.
Okay.
We do, we don't. We can't, please.
I hear you.
Okay, thank you, Angie. Okay. Nice to see you.
The paradox that you do
Angie,
not consider him.
Thank you, Angie. Joe Jarvis, please.
Good evening.
Hi, Joe.
Again, same spiel, same problems. By looking at the sheet over here, it's looking as though we're not going to pass the R7.
That's correct, sir.
If I read it right, okay? Glad to see that. I get a question between a dismissal and a denial, the difference between the two, which I take after my 3 minutes. And
Joe, could you speak into the microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, dear.
It's the first time somebody said they couldn't hear me. All right, glad to see the vote is going to go this way, all right? The question is there a difference between a dismissal and a denial? I'll take that after my 3 minutes. If this thing is resubmitted under another guise at a different time, I want you to know that people are going to be more in an uproar. We were too organized at this point in time, but the next time, if it comes up, you're going to find a more organized, a more representative, and a more aggressive people, and to oppose anything of this nature. The project is not going to happen. There's not going to be a spot zoning. A quick report, mention or comment on the article that was in the paper from the representative of the Legacy. He shouldn't blame us for his bad business venture. He should have known it was not a commercial venture, a commercial area. He bought it knowing it, figuring he could make a change. Didn't happen. His problem, not our fault. And someone once said, and I'm paraphrasing, that one can tell a man's mettle by how he faces adversity and how he faces or accepts defeat. And by what he said in that article, I think you can tell where he stands. And I think it was a NIMBY that said that. And that's all I got to say, really. Just we'll be watching to make sure that this doesn't
Thank you, Joe.
go through again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tamara Denisenko.
Good evening. My name is Tamara Denisenko, and I live at 40 Muirwoods Lane. I'm here today again as a concerned citizen, neighbor, homeowner, and lifelong resident of Irondequoit. It was disheartening, disappointing, and sad to read the negative comments on the Legacy apartment issue in the DNC, which branded concerned residents as liars, fabricators of misleading information, bent on ruining their town. I have always considered Irondequoit as the best place to live, raise a family, work, play, worship, and retire in. Therefore, it was also surprising to read accusations of age discrimination when, in fact, 10 years ago, a large number of concerned petitioners against the Legacy Apartment Project, and most recently, were and are senior citizens. Today, my neighbors and I look to our elected officials to make a sound determination for the good and welfare of our community by voting against moving the Legacy Apartment forward. We appeal to you to protect the character of the neighborhood and community within state laws and town codes and help safeguard the ever-diminishing owner-occupied character of our town. Our town leadership, now and in the future, should not accept applications for significant code changes without full and fair disclosure to the residents of the affected community and without substantive public hearings. This is especially critical for the remaining undeveloped, environmentally challenged parcels of land. I am sure that there are other locations where apartment housing could be built in already developed yet underutilized areas of our town, while strategically adding to the already over 230 acres of high-density commercial apartments and developed. However, the Titus, Willow Creek, Larkspur, Whipple Lane residential neighborhood is not conducive to such a development and should not be forced to be commercialized. Alternative development of this area that may already be compliant to zoning law following a rigorous environmental review would be a more sound solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. Sandy Cummings, please. Hi.
Hello again. I was here in December. My name is Sandy Cummings, and I reside at 20 Sedgefield Court. If the reports are true, and I think you just admitted this also, that later this evening the town board will be voting against the proposal to build a senior living facility on Willow Creek. I've come here tonight to thank the town board for listening to your constituents, taking our many concerns under advisement, and agreeing that Willow Creek is not the right place to build a large facility. When I spoke here in December, I suggested that the developer choose a different site, like Medley Center. I'm not a developer, a site planner, an architect, or a construction manager, but the more I think about Medley Center, the more I realize what a great site it would be for the senior living facility. Think about it. It would be a win for the developer since more people are likely to choose a senior living facility that is located within a short walk to restaurants, hotels, and shopping, and hopefully Broadway shows and other entertainment in the near future. It would be a win for the nearby stores and restaurants, which would have increased sales from people living, visiting, and working at the facility. It would be a win for the owners of Medley Center. A proposal to build a senior living facility there would surely kickstart the redevelopment of the mall, and it should attract even more new businesses in and around Medley Center. Starting the long-awaited redevelopment of Medley Center would certainly be a win for the town of Irondequoit. We would once again have a nice shopping mall nearby, and I can only imagine how many more businesses, homeowners, and visitors might be attracted to our town. This would provide us even more great opportunities in the future. And it would be a win for my neighborhood, which is definitely not the right place to build a large senior facility. We would all be very happy to see a facility located in a suitable location like Medley Center. Once again, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy. Teresa Corrigan-Bastuk.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor and board members. Therese Corrigan-Bastuk, 125 Eastman Estates. Just a brief comment about the legacy. In advance of tonight's vote, I'd like to thank you for acknowledging the community's concerns about this project. Whether those concerns came from hundreds upon hundreds who signed petitions people that walked in all 4 seasons to gather these signatures, residents who sent emails, made phone calls, and who spoke publicly against this project on a regular basis. What's important, and unfortunately, I think the developer was hoping that we were a bunch of sheep. We were informed residents, and the residents took the time to gather the data and seek the knowledge and understand the severe ramifications, whether it would be traffic, environmental, or aesthetics from this application. Residents worked tirelessly with subject experts, such as previous town master planner, town engineers, previous planning board members, planning board chair, and town board members, as well as environmental lawyers and state and local agencies. We appreciate you taking the time to listen and learn along with us on this long journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Ron Rigby, please.
Ron Rigby, 38 Glen Hollow. Good evening, Madam Supervisor, honorable board members. The legacy. Are we finally closing the book or starting a new chapter? For the past 2.5 years, the town board, along with the planning board, have tried every maneuver to accommodate the developer's application. As stated in tonight's agenda, the town board will no longer entertain the proposal for the legacy of Titus Avenue project. The residents do not feel that this was very entertaining, to say the least. This has been a very upsetting ordeal. If this is really the end, the town board should apologize to the residents and vow to never change the town's master plan and zoning code to accommodate any sophisticated developer. Mark IV should not have made negative and insulting comments in the DNC article about our town supervisor and concerned residents. He should be grateful for the huge gift he already received from Arundecoit of a multi-million-dollar assessment reduction at the legacy at Cranberry Landing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Reveley, please.
Good evening. My name is Mary Reveley. I live at 4921 Culver Road, 2 doors from Marge's. I'm not as entertaining as Franny is. First of all, I want to thank the town board for providing us with police protection, IPD protection, this past weekend after the voting ordinance went down to defeat or was annulled or whatever it was. We were very disappointed as homeowners about the judge's decision. We do thank the town board for having worked with us for over 10 years that we have been dealing with the chaos down there, and hope that in the future the town board will revisit the issue and bring the ordinance back, this time hopefully with the correct environmental impact statement and the correct public hearings. Thank you very much.
Doris Perkett.
Doris Perkett, 95 Mayville Lane. I'm 67 and live near Arundecoit Plaza. In about 15 years, I may be looking for some senior housing. And I would like to have a place I could go close to where I live, in my neighborhood. So I could go to the stores that I'm used to, be in familiar situations. My parents were at the Village in Park Ridge. You know, I don't want to go over there. I'd like to stay in my neighborhood. I should have explored all this a long time ago, but I didn't. But when I saw the article in the paper on this week, I went to look at the property. I'm not an engineer, but to me it looked like, I went and saw the site plan. It looked to me like a reasonable proposal. And I was glad to see that they were going to save the pond there, which is important for wildlife. I was also told that the proposal has been withdrawn. What I would like to see, because in our town, I was told that 23% of our population are 65 and older. And the baby boomers are reaching that stage very quickly.
Don't push it.
No. I'm missing a baby boomer by 1 year, 2 months. But I would like to see the town board and the town of Arundecoit explore and identify what the housing needs are for seniors and what they will be, say, in 10 or 15 years. You know, I don't think we should just plan, we won't do anything, and when you get older, if you need senior housing, you've got to leave. You know, I like having everybody together. So I would like to see that study, really, the need really studied. I'd also like to see the requirement for senior housing to have 5 acres of land to be decreased, because we have very little land in Arundecoit. And probably if we're going to have senior housing, we'll have to change that rule. And I would be happy to see the Titus Avenue proposal resubmitted with any necessary modifications. One point of information, when I was looking at the land, I was standing on a public sidewalk. Somebody yelled from one of the houses at me, "Hey you, get out of here." I called back. "I can hear you, but I could not see you. I cannot see you." This man did not show his face. I believe in hearing all viewpoints. I don't know everything. I would love to have had this man come out and speak calmly with me, explaining his thoughts, and so I could hear his ideas.
Okay, I'm sorry, Doris, that's your 3 minutes. Thank you. Laura Morrissey, please.
Laura Van Dernhoff Morrissey, 187 Spring Valley Drive. I have written and spoken many times my strong opposition to R7 rezoning and to the Legacy project. To summarize those thoughts quickly, spot rezoning is illegal. It's contrary to the town's master plan. The Legacy, if built on Titus, would result in unacceptable traffic congestion, noise, light pollution, flooding, and negative effect on property values. It has no place on Titus Avenue. Now, I would also like to point out that the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle has reported that in February, the town of Brighton and the Penfield Central School District needed to sue Mark IV Enterprises over unpaid back taxes on the Legacy at Clover Senior Facility. The Democrat and Chronicle then also reported in April that the Village of Pittsford Planning Board needed to issue Mark IV Enterprises a stop work order to ensure that they stuck to the brownfields cleanup on Monroe Avenue that they were hired to do and not bulldoze away trees, which they had already done without reason. Don't let these things happen in Arundecoit, the town where we want to live, where we choose to live. Not this time around, not next year, not ever in the future, and certainly not under any other guise. I agree with Ms. Cummings. A senior facility might well belong at Midley Center. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Terry Cotter, please.
Terry Carter, 99 Oak Ridge Drive, resident of the town since 1980. I spoke out against R7 not because I'm anti-development. The project simply didn't fit in that location. There are many other locations in the town where I think we need to wring every commercial tax dollar we can out of the limited land we've got. It simply wasn't a fit for that location. It would have taken property values down, and it doesn't fit. I would like to see the town put in place plans where we can accommodate senior housing. I'm 65 in October, remember. I want to live somewhere as well. And I think we can do it. It's got to be done through a planning process and following due process. I'm ad-libbing now because of other things that have been said. I was not misled by the library vote. I knew exactly what I was voting for because I bothered to find out what it was all about. All right? It's called an informed citizen. My purpose in speaking the last few months has been to offer suggestions because I want to see the town made more attractive to new residents. I want to see the town prosper. And nowhere I've lived has prosperity come without some offsets. We're just going to have to put up with a little bit more traffic. It comes with the territory of prosperity. So Richard has a lot of valuable input. We do need to follow the process. We do need to follow the process. But I was not misled, and the people that voted for the library were not misled. Let's just step back and figure out how we're going to get our processes stronger, bulletproof, how we can work with the attorneys to make sure that there are no more lawsuits because we get everything right first time. Let's move forward, get the library in. Let's find somewhere else in the town. Let's develop this town so that it meets all of our requirements and it becomes even more attractive than it is now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Terry. I saw you the other day working out in your yard, and I almost stopped to talk with you because, you know, that's another beautiful street in town. And so,
stop by.
I shall.
You get excited about sewers, stop by because we can have a septic tank party.
Oh. We'll continue to work on those projects, believe me.
They're important, yeah.
Okay, thank you to all of you who spoke. That's all we have signed up. And at this time, we will move to the financial report.
The financial results for the town as of May 31st, 2013. Total expenditures and encumbrances are $13,002,000 or 41.5% of budget, which is exactly in line with the 41.7% of the year that has elapsed. The total breaks down as follows. Actual expenditures, $10,727,000, and encumbrances, $2,275,000, an amount that is quite typical for this time of year. Departments continue to commit to supplies and services that are needed throughout the year. The general fund expenses are favorable at $7,140,000 or 39.3% of budget, below the 41.7% of the year that has elapsed. Of the $7 million total, $6.2 million represents the actual year-to-date spending. Jointly, the expenses in the highway funds are $3,258,000 or 58.4% of budget. That's above the percent of the year that has elapsed. Each of the highway funds has substantial and necessary encumbrances, such as gas, fuel, asphalt, debt service, equipment parts, and salt. Total expenditures in the other major funds are lower than 41.7%. The expenditures in the library are $666,000 or 35.7% of budget. Sewer has expended 35.2% of its budget, $1,376,000. Stormwater drainage expenses total $147,000, which equates to 18.8% of budget. The general fund has received $11.6 million or 64.4% of the revenue budget. $10.3 million is tax revenue and $225,000 is payment in lieu of taxes. The year-to-date, the town has received sales tax revenue for January and February. To summarize, revenue received for the entire town is $23.3 million, 74.8% of budget. Approximately $16.3 million is real estate tax. The library has received close to $1.8 million, 94.7% of its revenue. Highway has received 87.4% of revenue at $4.8 million. And $3.8 million of revenue has been received by the sewer fund, equaling 98.7% of budget. This concludes my financial report for the month of May.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Some concerns during the report by our auditor this evening. We have to be very careful when we budget for economically sensitive revenues. Two of those that are extremely volatile are sales tax and the mortgage tax. We are seeing an improvement in the economy, but we also know, for example, the fourth quarter sales tax was lower than was projected and lower than the year before. So we have to be careful. We have to match our expenses to the revenues. As she indicated, we have built those fund balances, and it is important that we have those reserves for those unexpected costs. So as we closely watch our finances, in some areas we are under where we were last year because we just never know what's going to happen with those other revenues, so we have to be very conservative.
Especially given the fact that we don't know what's going to happen when this quantitative easing is over. Yeah. It's a scary prospect there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Irina.
Has the Seabreeze Water District paid their final payment due to the town? Yes? And that date was this month?
It was during the month of May.
May, and that was for?
The last $46,000.
Okay.
So there's zero, there's
right.
no.
Very good.
No loan due.
Very good.
And she didn't go into that in the audit, and I was hoping she would, because they have learned, just like the town has learned, how important it is to watch cash flows instead of just watching accounts receivable. You have to be watching the cash flows. And the Seabreeze Water District's in a very healthy position right now. They have made such improvements, so we're proud of what they have accomplished.
And I'd like to make a statement. In the report that was given to us tonight by Laura, there is a statement about the improvement in the Seabreeze water. Mm-hmm. It wasn't stated verbally, but there's a comment in there.
Yeah, and that's important to the almost 3,200 homes that are in that water district, that they know themselves that improvements have been made there financially.
And, just for the record, Madam Supervisor, also at our workshop on Wednesday, Laura and her associate couldn't have been more complimentary of the staff and the audit process here, how every employee not only was ready, willing, and able to accommodate them in every way, they were fully prepared and were an exemplary model of what they would like a town to be when they come in. And there's a lot of mudslinging that goes around to employees, and they deserve a wealth of compliments as well.
It's true. Okay, let us move on to approval of minutes, please.
May 15th, 2013, the workshop meeting.
May I have a motion to accept as presented?
Moved.
And a second? Okay, any discussion? Did anyone find any corrections, additions? Okay, hearing none, let us vote to approve as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The May 21st, 2013, the regular town board meeting.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
All right. Did anyone find any additions or corrections?
Very good.
Okay. Good job, Barbara.
As always.
Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 6A, 2013-3, establishing that the town board will no longer entertain the proposal for the Legacy at Titus Avenue project.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
I'm glad you're coming, because I do have questions when we receive that letter, and
Yeah,
I want to
well,
make
let's-
sure we put things to rest.
Let's maybe go through this. What the board has before you was a resolution.
Ed, be sure you're speaking to the microphone,
Yeah,
please.
The microphone's not very loud tonight.
You had before you a resolution that had been previously drafted. It was a resolution whereby the board was going to exercise your legislative authority to no longer consider the legacy project. As the board, I'm sure, is aware, rezoning, the decision to do a rezoning is trusted to the town board. It's a legislative decision, which means that even when people give you a petition to rezone property, it is first up to you to consider whether you want to entertain, and that's actually a word that we use in the secret regulations, entertain the application, and then if you do, to ultimately decide it. At any point in that process, the town board also has the discretion to say, enough's enough, we don't want to do this. What evidently happened last week is the legacy folks knew what was happening or coming down the road. And yesterday, June 17th, 2013, they sent a letter to the town board from the managing member of Legacy at Pine Park LLC withdrawing their application. What that withdrawal means is that actually there is no longer anything pending before the town, and that the application in essence is gone. Now there may be some points we want to talk about with that. I think one of the questions that came up during the meeting, well, what's the difference between a denial versus a we will not entertain versus a withdrawal? The town zoning code has a section about amendments, but it doesn't say particularly if an amendment is denied, you have to wait X number of years before you can reapply, and it doesn't say anything with respect to withdrawal or anything else, any specific time limits. So that actually the practical effect of all those is the same. You know, at this point in looking at this, the resolution you have before you now is unnecessary or moot. Mm-hmm. The application has been withdrawn, and frankly, I think it's in a better situation for the town to accept the withdrawal and that the matter is done with by the action of the applicant than to pass a resolution that someone may say, let's bring a legal challenge to it. You know, in essence, the matter is over by their withdrawal.
Okay, so your recommendation is?
You receive and file the letter from Legacy dated June 17, 2013, and mark the petition for rezoning as withdrawn, and that the matter is concluded.
My concern is, as some residents brought up tonight, if it arises again.
Yeah, and I can understand those concerns. What I would say is that it's always within the sound discretion of the town board. If Tuesday Legacy submitted a new petition to you, you could look at it and say, we don't want to even entertain it, and you're done.
Okay. But the whole quandary of this is the whole issue of R7. We cannot, through our words and actions, say things that in any way look discriminatory, regardless of all the other variables pertaining to this particular site. We need to protect the town. Yes, we need to look at the zoning, but how do we protect the town in the future at this particular spot?
Well, I think the larger issue that's been brought up, and the larger issue the town board may wish to consider, is the issue of mix of housing in the community. Is the mix of housing in the community. And there have been lots of people who have said, you know, you need to look at the zoning ordinance with respect to the mix of housings in the community. And there's been some people who've said, you know, the problem may be senior housing, but maybe it's low-income senior housing versus high-end senior housing. And those are things that can be looked at totally as you look at your total mix of this, and through, I think as one of your speakers had suggested, a comprehensive planning process. Mm-hmm. Versus taking one section or the other just piecemeal and doing it that way. I mean, that's just a thought. There are, in occasions, as you may know, grants available from various state and other agencies to help with that process for municipalities. But that's a long-term process that I think is different than a rezoning for one particular site. That rezoning application has been withdrawn.
Okay. However, what about if an application comes on Titus Avenue for low income?
Well, you'd have to, depending, what you say on the same site?
Not necessarily.
Well, you know, you would have to apply the zoning standards that exist to that sort of housing. You know, if you look at low-income Section 8 housing, there's all sorts of issues about that. And I think we'd have to look at those proposals. But I think with respect to this site and this proposal, it's been withdrawn.
Is it possible for zoning to be revised so that, for example, R1 says strictly single family, because R1 is broad in the fact that it allows urgent care, hospitals, schools, libraries, churches, and so forth?
Firehouses.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, can you amend your zoning ordinance and change the different districts and the different standards in those districts? And the answer is yes, you can. Typically, that sort of thing is done as part of a comprehensive plan process, where you first, and it's usually involved with quite often a comprehensive plan committee, and the planning board is involved in that, and you say, what are all the mixes we want to have in the town? You update or adopt a comprehensive plan where you do that, and then the town board follows along generally with changes to the zoning ordinance to match up with that. But it's not something that's done on a
it's a tough process.
Basis. You do it in a comprehensive basis.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions to ask?
So,
I don't know, Joe. I don't know. We have to find out here.
I have a question. Has the applicant been given, in your opinion, the right to his due process, so he would not be able to litigate afterwards?
Well, I mean, the applicant has withdrawn their application.
so he don't have to probably.
They don't have any claim.
And we have assurance of that?
They put it in writing to us saying they're withdrawing their application. It was received by Larry, I believe.
Yes, he emailed it to us.
And what you're also saying is you're not sure of the time frame where he can reapply or submit an application. So that could be next Tuesday, as you're saying.
It could be next Tuesday, but let's just run that through. Let's say that next Tuesday he came to the town board with the same petition. The town board at your next meeting looks at it and you say, we're not going to entertain this. You're done.
So, for example, if you did do that, we could do the same resolution that was presented tonight, which is basically we're not going to entertain that zoning change.
Okay.
Right.
Because the town did do its due diligence with this, much more so than ever.
I mean, you know, and it's an important thing for the board to consider in future rezoning applications, that your first decision is whether you want to consider it.
And also, this question was always going through my mind, as a lead agency, shouldn't the town board have been the lead agency?
No. In fact, if you want to go through it, in fact, the planning board was a proper lead agency. The way that process works is that all the agencies involved in issuing any approval, even if they don't have an application pending before them, are considered to be involved agencies. Those agencies among them can decide who will be the lead agency. And it's the words in the regulations are typically the one principally responsible for this. But the process is an agreement between the involved agencies as to which one is the lead agency. Here for Legacy at Titus, the planning board went through the process of being designated the lead agency and was in fact the proper lead agency for this. That being said, they said they had incomplete information to reach a determination. Right. The matter came back before this board. This board was going to say that they didn't want to entertain it any longer because of all the issues and simply because You didn't want to entertain it anymore, and the applicant withdrew it in the meantime.
And when you're referring to comprehensive plan, you're referring to the master plan and having to
Right. The old
diligent
phrase,
in-
right.
in-
The old phrase used to be master plan. The new phrase in the statute is now comprehensive plan. But it's basically the same.
So we need a comprehensive plan in order to establish zoning for all of the land.
I would think if you're going to redo
Irondequoit.
your zoning ordinance, you need to have a comprehensive plan update done
Exactly.
to do that.
And all of those areas of land would all be subject to secret review.
Well, what you would generally do with a comprehensive plan and the follow-on zoning ordinances is that you would do a generic environmental impact statement where you look at what are going to be all the changes that done in the town. And you actually would generally do an environmental impact statement, but since it's not doing each specific site, but doing the town as a whole, that's why it's called generic.
I don't understand why it would be a generic.
It's kind of the phraseology that they use. It's when you're looking at planning out for a broad area where you're going to be setting the general standards such as you do for a zoning ordinance. Okay? So the process for that is generally done by a generic environmental impact statement. Now, generic doesn't mean less than. It doesn't mean that you don't do all the steps. You prepare an environmental impact statement, you analyze all the impacts of the proposed zoning changes, because now you're doing the whole ordinance, right? You have public comment, you prepare a finding statement, you do all the steps, but it's called generic because it's not site-specific, but covers a broader area. So generic in this phrase doesn't mean less.
Right, and I believe we should avoid spot zoning, and that's where the master plan, comprehensive plan would direct itself to
The issue always with spot zoning is, are you doing the zoning in accordance with the plan for the community? That's what the issue of spot zoning is about. Some people think that the phrase spot refers to the size of the parcel. That's not necessary. That isn't really what spot's referring to. What spot's referring to is a zoning that doesn't fit into the town's comprehensive plan and doesn't carry out the town goals that have been established by this board.
And that's why our zoning is so peculiar, because it's so encompassing, particularly for R1, R2, and R3, that the whole thing needs to be examined.
Yeah, well, and there's we're kind of getting a broader subject, but there's new zoning techniques that are coming into effect. There's new ways of doing this. There's new tools that communities have. There's lots of people who could come in and tell you that the sort of thing that you've typically been thinking about is we set up districts, we do what's called Euclidean zoning.
Sounds like geometry.
Yeah, it does. It's actually from the village of Euclid.
Oh.
But the idea used to be that you would set up district by district by district and say, this district only has houses, this district only has factories, this district only has commercial. And then some people have said, well, wouldn't it be nice to have some different type of zoning where, for example, you would have residences with stores where people could walk to?
Sure.
Or wouldn't it be nice if your kids could go ride their bike to the dentist's office versus having to be driven there? That sort of idea, and there's different ways of accomplishing that, not all of which I could explain to you as I'm standing here.
Is it possible in more environmentally sensitive areas that we do this rezoning so that it minimizes the type of development that can occur there, so that whether it's just single family versus...
Well, and in fact, you've already been using some of those tools. You have environmental protection overlay districts that in essence limit the types of developments you can have in particular areas. I think Larry might be able to help me more about all the EPODs you have, but...
They tend to be
short list. We have steep slopes, obviously. We have woodlots. There are wetlands. There are floodplains.
So you do have some of those tools, and you can look at expanding those tools and enhancing them in a comprehensive plan.
We also have the DEC and the EPA, and their heavy hand.
Okay. And this is part of the reason
Someone's
zoning
cell phone
was
is
not
ringing. If you
addressed
could turn
in
that off,
that.
please.
What was that?
Someone's cell phone is
Trying.
ringing.
Because the zoning really wasn't addressed well in the most recent master comprehensive plan draft.
Quite the opposite, yeah.
No, it was quite the opposite, yeah. So, anyone have any other questions?
So we are not going to vote on this. We're going to, okay.
I think what you're going to do, I'd like to have you do is accept the receive and file, the letter dated June 17, 2013 from Legacy at Pineview Park LLC, and mark the petition for the rezoning as withdrawn and off everyone's docket.
Barbara, I'd like to make that motion.
Second the motion.
Do we,
because we can't get into
we can't allow public, you can ask us afterwards.
Well, yeah, but then you're that's the whole point. We were here to say no. That's why we're here. We're not here to pass the time.
No, we,
All of us have got different things to do.
I,
And this is just caving into a fully thread.
Sir, you're not allowed to speak from the floor. Public input is over. Our lawyer has advised us that there's nothing to say no to, is what I understand you're saying.
That's correct, Councilman.
That there is no legal document that we can say no to, therefore this resolution is null and void.
Right, they've
It has no
withdrawn your
power.
application.
It has no power.
It would have no power, and frankly, you'd be far better off just marking it withdrawn than adopting a resolution that then seems to be something someone could challenge.
And he could take us to court as he did the previous administration.
And he would lose, too. But
yeah. Okay. The motion is on the table, and I will second it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Joe, if I could address your concern here, I want to make it clear that we have two options, and you recommend that we accept their withdrawal.
I'll use your mic.
I'm sorry. And the reason is either one doesn't have an effect as to what they can do on Tuesday. Either one, they can come Tuesday and refile. If we do the motion as we had intended, it would open more opportunities for litigation. If we accept their withdrawal, it eliminates that opportunity for litigation, correct?
Correct, Ms. Morris.
Okay, thank you. That's why I think that's advantageous to do. I understand, but I'm trying to. I guess my point is we're trying to help reduce the litigation and put it to bed, as opposed to if we do that resolution, it could open the door for further problems. Okay.
Thank you. A motion is on the floor. There is a second, madam.
Any other discussion from the board members? So we could work towards doing something differently with zoning in certain districts.
Yes, I think what I discussed about with the councilwoman is the idea of a whole comprehensive plan update.
Okay.
Which means that we wouldn't be able to entertain many applications then.
It would seem you would wait, yes.
Yes.
Okay? All right, so let us vote. All those in favor of accepting the withdrawal of the application signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 6A, 2013-4, adopt a resolution for professional services.
Moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Larry, or you're going to talk, okay.
Yeah. As the town board knows, and in fact was
Excuse me, everyone, we're still conducting business, so we can't really socialize right now in the Broderick room.
As the board knows, there's been a legal challenge to the seeker review and the library bond resolution that's been filed. That legal challenge has been adjourned by consent of the parties to August 22nd for a hearing before Judge Frazee. In the meantime, we believe it is appropriate to retain an engineering firm, planning firm, to review the issues of potential impacts of the library project and to determine the need for a new seeker review. The litigation process can be long, expensive, and uncertain, and the board may wish to consider the issue again after we get advice and updated information from our engineering firm. With this in mind, 3 proposals had been put out to qualified firms in the area. One of the proposals that came in was from Passero Associates. Passero Associates is someone who's generally familiar with the town, has done work on the town, and is someone that I have worked with before. We believe that Passero Associates would be the best one to proceed with for review of the seeker issues with respect to the library project. The proposal you have before you is to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Passero Associates for a cost not to exceed of $9,500.
Is there anything else you need to add for further resolved?
The only thing I would say is that with respect to the resolution, we've identified it as a type 2 because it's part of the information gathering, environmental studies, and others that does not commit the town to a specific proposal, but is part of developing information towards a proposal or new proposal.
I know. That's interesting.
It's redundancy, really, but it's good.
Anyone have anything to say?
I have a question or two. Could you please clarify what the word reformatting of secret documents means?
I think that was the wording in the proposal. What we're looking at is for Passero to take a look at what has been done before, to make recommendations as to additions, changes, other information we should be looking at developing, kind of reviewing it and helping us determine whether there needs to be a new seeker review and new documentation presented to the town board.
So that would make that prior seeker review null and void?
No.
In essence, it would be replacing that prior seeker review if the town board so decided to go forward.
So it's a redo.
One way to say it is a redo. People bringing the lawsuit may say it's a do.
So they're going to use the prior seeker as a reference point and then make changes where they feel need to be
Well, we're
made.
going to look at the information that was put together
provided,
before,
right.
but I think the process would be, if we decide to go forward, there will be new forms, new information
Yes.
presented to the
Okay.
board. The board would be considering this anew.
We did a preliminary seeker because we really didn't have a proposal to do a fixed proposal, so this would go into more depth. If they decided the first seeker wasn't adequate.
I would anticipate that it would go into more depth, yes.
Well, it's time. We know the referendum passed.
Anything else?
I guess my other question is this lawful to do and procedurally correct in relationship to municipal finance law?
I think if I understand your question, the issue is that you've been sued and there's been a challenge brought to what was done before. What we are doing now is looking at it and see whether we need to correct that process. If in fact we need to correct the process, then what you'd be doing under the local finance law would be adopting a new bond resolution.
Would be adopted in the new bond resolution.
Yeah.
So there had to be a new bond resolution.
Correct.
And when would that happen?
Depends on how we go on the seeker process, because if we give the board the new information, you would have a number of choices you can make under seeker. You could decide, for example, that you feel that the project as proposed would not have a significant adverse impact on the environment. If we provided you the information where you can make that judgment, it would be something you'll see later on. We're going to be doing a resolution on that, so I'll show you how that might go on a very smaller project, but then you could decide whether you would issue a negative declaration, which means there would not be an environmental impact statement prepared. You might, however, decide that, well, now we have a lot more information and we think that there may be a significant adverse impact and we need to do an environmental impact statement.
Yeah,
if you did that, that would be a process that would take many months to get done.
Yeah, this puts us in a very uncomfortable situation.
The process is necessary.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 6A.
Thank you, Ed.
2013-5, authorizing an interfund loan to the Route 590 Capital Project Fund.
Motion, please.
Moved.
And a second.
Got to do it.
Thank you. Okay, Annie.
Whereas a bond anticipation note payment in the amount of $1,700,000 for the Route 590 capital project is due on June 28, 2013. Whereas the existing town board authorization for the Route 590 bond anticipation note allows for a maximum borrowing of $1,200,000. Whereas it is necessary to provide additional funding of $500,000 in order to guarantee full payment of $1,700,000 for the band that is due on June 28, 2013. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board authorizes the comptroller to make an interfund cash loan to the Route 590 Capital Project Fund from the general fund in order to meet its obligation of a $1,700,000 band payment on June 28, 2013. The $500,000 loan repayment will take place as soon as the Route 590 Capital Project Fund receives reimbursement from New York State.
This is a perfect example of why fund balances are so important.
This is an example that we are able to do that. Exactly.
And this money, just for the folks at home, we are owed this $500,000 in a promise from our grant from New York State. So it had nothing to do with negligence on the town boards. And just would wonder if Assemblyman Morelli could give us a little help here and see what he can do in Albany to get the money that we were promised would be great.
May I add a comment? We're actually owed $1,700,000.
Right, that's right. Not even just the 500. The 500 is what we need to meet the bill.
Right.
Thank you, Annie, for that clarification.
It's unfortunate when money's promised, it's so late in getting to us.
It'll get here, maybe. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Maybe we'll create a little squeaking.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 6A, 2013-6, authorizing the promotion of a police officer to sergeant.
Moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Chief.
Due to a retirement, I'm asking the board to approve the promotion of a police officer to the rank of sergeant, and I'll read the resolution. There is a vacancy in the Runaway Police Department for a police sergeant, and whereas the Chief of Police has interviewed and selected police officer Alan Laird, who is currently reachable on the Monroe County certified list of eligible candidates for police sergeant, and whom he feels is best qualified for the position of police sergeant, and whereas the Chief of Police recommends the promotion of Police Officer Alan Laird to the full-time position of Police Sergeant per Civil Service Law, and whereas this position is currently budgeted in the 2013 police budget. Now therefore be it resolved that the Arundecoit Town Board appoint Police Officer Alan Laird as a Police Sergeant in the Arundecoit Police Department at a rate of $84,192 per year from Budget Code 001-3120-0100-1100.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Do you want to talk a little bit about him?
Right, we interviewed three good candidates, and Officer Laird has been with the department for several years. He a field training officer. He is a technician and possesses a lot of skills that we can use in a leadership position to teach the younger, newer officers that are coming on the job.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone have anything?
We talked about it on Wednesday.
Okay. Let us vote. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 6A, 2013-7, authorizing the promotion of a police officer to investigator.
Motion, please. Moved.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Okay, Chief.
Okay, again, this is because of her retirement in the Criminal Investigation Unit that I'm asking the Town Board to approve the promotion of this police officer to investigator. Whereas a vacancy in the Arundecoit Police Department for an investigator in the Criminal Investigation Unit, and whereas the Chief of Police has interviewed and selected Police Officer Anthony DeFonte, whom he feels is best qualified for the position of investigator, and whereas the Chief of Police recommends the promotion of Police Officer Anthony DeFonte to the full-time position of investigator, and whereas the position is currently budgeted for in the 2013 police budget. Now therefore be it resolved that the Arundecoit Town Board appoint Police Officer Anthony DeFonte as an investigator in the Criminal Investigation Unit of the Arundecoit Police Department at a rate of $81,238 per year from Budget Code 001-3120-0100.1100. This resolution to take effect upon its adoption.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone have any questions or things they'd like to ask? Do you want to mention anything else, Chief?
Well, I would like to let the board know we had 7 candidates apply for this position, all very well qualified. It took us probably 2 weeks, a week to interview all 7 candidates due to the fact that we gave them scenarios to do along with presenting to us their portfolios. These are 7 very talented individuals, and they worked hard to prepare themselves for our interviews. And so I'm very confident with the officer that I presented to the board, along with I feel comfortable with if this comes up again, we will have several candidates that are eligible for this position.
Thank you, Chief.
And also, Chief, just as we discussed on Wednesday, you're also comfortable, this officer will leave his patrol duty, but you are comfortable with the amount of officers that...
Yes, I am. Obviously, I can always use more, but we're working out things, and I feel comfortable with providing the proper public safety.
Okay, anything?
I guess I just want to comment on something interesting I had learned at our workshop, that you have gone through quite extensive internal interviews with all the candidates, and I appreciate that very intense evaluation on your part.
It's important to me that we pick the right candidate, and it's also important that I present the proper candidate to the board so what they feel comfortable, and it's important to the department and the residents. So we put a lot of effort into it because these are very difficult. This is a difficult job in the town, and every day there's something new. So we try and get the best people.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, hearing nothing else, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 6A, 2013-8, adopt a resolution pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act with respect to declaring surplus a portion of the parcel tax ID 077.11-3-50.1 located on Titus Avenue Extension north of 2529 Titus Avenue Extension.
Motion, please.
Move.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you.
This is there'll be two motions that the board will be dealing with respect to the sale of surplus property of the town of Roundacoit. It's actually quite a small parcel. I think it's a little less than 1/10 of an acre. But it's proposed to be sold to Ms. Breeden. It's going to be re-subdivided as a condition of the sale with an existing dwelling on the site, and then there will be used for an attached garage, all of which are allowed uses in the area. The town has received a appraisal. The sale is at full appraisal price of $3,150. The property, as I mentioned before, would be declared no longer needed by the town. We have proposed a negative declaration of environmental significance with respect to this project. You have received, that was prepared and reviewed by the town, a short environmental assessment form. You had actually received that at the workshop. I do have additional copies if anybody would like one now, or we all pretty much, okay.
I don't have to have it now, but I'd like one, yeah.
Here you go.
Oh, I have this already, sorry.
Okay. Basically, in going through the negative declaration, we have a resolution that adopts the negative declaration, which is the second document you have. The negative declaration states that it is issued pursuant to Part 617. It describes the nature of the action, the location of the property, contains a basic description of the action, and the reasons supporting the determinations. It goes through each of 8 areas identified in the short environmental assessment form and discusses each one of them. Basically, with respect to existing air quality, groundwater, noise levels, existing traffic pattern, the negative declaration concludes this, that the sale of the surplus property will not create potential erosion, flooding, leaching, or drainage problems on or adjacent to the surplus property site. The proposed use of the site for an attached garage is consistent with existing land uses in the area. The proposed garage will be built on already impervious surface. Since the proposed garage is an accessory to an existing use, there is no significant increase in traffic. In fact, you would say there'd be no increase in traffic. As to aesthetic, agricultural, archaeological, or other natural resources, once again, the garage is going to be designed in accordance with the setting in the existing building. The use of the property for accessory garage is consistent with the fact that it will be re-subdivided with the neighboring dwelling and constitute a permitted accessory use. With respect to vegetation, fauna, fish, shellfish, or wildlife species, of course, since it's already an impervious surface, there won't be any impacts to that, and there won't be any change of any settings, particularly when you consider that it's such a small little site. The land use will remain the same, so no impact with respect to zoning. Subsequent development, not an issue. It's really just a garage to serve an existing dwelling, and no short-term cumulative impacts or other impacts, and no impairments to an area, a critical environmental area. So basically, in going through all the factors, you can see the basis for the negative declaration. I don't know if Pat or Larry had anything else to add about this.
I think you covered it all.
Well, the nice thing also is this will now come back onto the tax rolls as it was town-owned property before. We weren't collecting any revenue on it. And we have a very resident that's lived in Irondequoit quite a long time that'll now have an attached garage.
Yeah, and to the extent that you put the two parcels together, you now have one single parcel with a dwelling and a garage on it, which is what you probably want.
Yeah, allows her to stay in her own home longer. That's great.
So the first resolution I'd ask for action for is actually the one adopting the negative declaration. Once you do that, you've completed the seeker process, and then you can go forward and adopt the resolution, actually declaring the property surplus and selling it. This resolution is subject to a permissive referendum. That means there'll have to be a notice published in the newspaper. I have reviewed the notice that has been proposed, and it contains all the information that you need.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 6A, 2013-9, declaring surplus a portion of the parcel tax ID 077.11-3-50.1 located on Titus Avenue Extension north of 2529 Titus Avenue Extension.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
Move.
It. Thank you. And a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Okay.
Just a little concern. On the assessment review, it calls the property 0.9 acres. This is 0.86.
Actually, the environmental assessment form has both figures. It has .086 and .09.
So which is it?
.09 is rounded up from
to
.086. So
Are we gonna get
it may
in
have been
trouble for rounding it up?
It may have been .8064.3, and it's been round. So it's a rounding factor basically.
About
Is it-
a tenth of an acre.
Yes, but I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the procedure end of it.
Yeah, I don't. There's nothing significant about
Okay.
.00.
It just seems to me there shouldn't be two different numbers, but okay, if you're sure that that's
I
not
think
going to impact
I think it's a difference of maybe 3 thousandths that we're looking at.
Yeah, I get that that's a very small portion, but the fact is we've got two different numbers on two different documents. That's my concern. And if it's not a problem, it's not a problem, but I want to be sure it's not a problem.
The fact is, it says approximately.
Yes, I think that gets us out of it because typically meets
that
and
one,
bounds are done as approximates, and I think it.
Okay.
I think we're alluding to the same thing.
Yeah, in fact, I think there is a description of the property so we know where it is. In fact, a lot of times in even real estate documents, you'll see plus or minus.
Mm-hmm. It does all the time. Yeah.
Great. Well, we have people in this town.
I believe me, I understand. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I would like a motion for a quick executive session to discuss a matter that is attorney-client privilege. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let us go. We hope to be very quick.
Well, there's nothing, no other board action anyway.
No, but we do tend to want to be quick on this. Okay. I believe that's it for our agenda for tonight. If I could have a motion to adjourn. Do we come back in the regular session? Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you. We better motion to reconvene. Thank you. I forget when you... and a second? Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And that's because when we go into executive session and adjourn for that.
So many times you have to adjourn.
Yes. So I apologize. So now a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Turn your computers off.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.
Hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Town Board on ICAT 12, Irondequoit's government access channel.